Chris, just kind of what's the plan for today? Where do you plan on staying, and how are you just feeling overall as you enter the series?
Feel pretty good, all things considered. Thanks. The plan was to try to be here all along. Just see how I felt day by day. And then kind of figure out like logistically how it might work, being on the bench, and with the other coaches and stuff like that. So.
Chris, with how much familiarity there is, 8 regular season matchups,
Yeah.
5 playoff games, do you feel the need to get inventive in the series to try something different, or is this one where you want to, both sides know what's coming and you want to try and just let it play out in terms of strength versus strength?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, for us, it starts with being the best version of ourselves. I think that's, what we've been able to do all year. Of course, it's the playoffs. There's going to be adjustments and things you have to consider. And with the extra week of preparation, I guess both teams are able to kind of think a little deeper. But I would imagine both teams are just going to kind of be themselves and let it rip.
Have you figured out yet whether you're going to be with the coaches on the bench, or you're going to be behind?
Yeah, no, I'll be on the bench. But the game interaction and the game flow, will be largely run by Micah. Obviously, I'm not in a position to be able to get up, call timeouts, interact with the players, that kind of stuff. But being right there with the coaches and with the players and in the huddles, that stuff will be the same. So
You do a lot of back and forth interaction with Micah traditionally during the course of a game. Is that going to be able to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, he has the pleasure of sitting next to me for the whole game now. So,
Chris, you said before you played this Denver team the first time this season that you feel like you learn a little bit about them or you guys are learning something about them every time you play them. How, as Matt said, with the 13 times you guys have played them in the last 2 years, how much of them do you feel like you have learned?
well, we learn every time that they're really, really hard to beat. They don't beat themselves. They probably got the most complete and complementary starting 5 in the league. The way they close games right now is surgical. It's elite. You got to be really good there. And everybody always asks, like, how are you gonna make Jokic a scorer or a passer? And the reality is, like, you just never know. He's one of those players that you feel like you're kind of out there playing alongside of him. Just got to keep fighting and changing it up. So, but yeah, we learn, but it only is good if we put it into useful actions. So.
You've talked since you've been here about the importance of playing as much as possible, playing through stuff. Did you kind of pigeonhole yourself into having to be here?
No, I didn't, honestly. I did not. I was wide open on everything. They told me that, they really wanted me to just rest. Been trying to do that. But I also wanted to be here, and, if I could be here in any capacity, that was the most important thing for me. So I just was literally going to take it day by day and see how I felt. So
The game at the end of the regular season here, there was a lot of stakes on that. Did you feel like either team kind of showed things that you hadn't seen before that maybe gave you an idea of what's to come this week?
Well, I thought they played with a desperation in that game that, they showed, their championship medal in that game. It was some of these games that we played against each other. It's just through the landscape of an NBA season, a lot of them were back-to-backs, kind of tough travel or tough schedule circumstances. So you don't always get the best representation of everything. But I felt that game, they played with a desperation that they knew what that game meant. So.
Chris, in Game 4, you talked about weathering the storm against Phoenix with them being a desperate team. How is that similar to starting a series on the road, trying to weather a storm against a hostile crowd here for you guys?
Yeah, we did a great job starting every game in the Phoenix series we knew that they were a hot starting team. That was a big point of emphasis. It needs to continue to be so. Finishing out the regular season, we weren't a good starting team. We can't afford to let a really good team get off to a great start at home. When we played them last year, Game 1, they really crushed us out of the gate. Probably took us almost a game and a half to kind of recover from it. So it's not something we can afford certainly this year. So we'll be ready.